Turn now to obituaries brought to you by Curtis & Son Funeral Home. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg for pre-need funerals, burials, or cremation since 1975. It is Curtis & Son Funeral Home. Sylacauga, Childersburg, call 256-245-4361. That's 256-245-4361. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. In obituary news this morning, Karen Chandler, age 64, died Tuesday at Coosa Valley Medical Center. Visitation will be Saturday, October the 16th from 1:30 till 3 o'clock at Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel. Following the visitation, there will be a graveside service at 3 in Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. Services will be officiated by the Reverend Wally Resendez and the Reverend Mance McCarthy. In lieu of flowers, contribution in Karen's memory may be made to Sylacauga's First Church of the Nazarene. Fond memories and expressions of sympathy may be shared at curtisondsonfh.com for the Chandler family. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, in charge of the arrangements. Paul T. Jordan, age 56, of Talladega, died October the 9th. Graveside service will be held today at 2 o'clock from Shelvin Rock Cemetery. Visitation at the North Chapel of Curtis & Son Funeral Home from 11:30 until 1:30 today. Before the service, Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing. Mr. Ira Blanchard died in Alexander City at Bill Nichols Veterans Home on Tuesday night. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Childersburg Chapel, directing that service. In other obituary news this morning, funeral service for Patricia Phillips will be on Friday at Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel, directing that service. Martha Lee Burke, age 80, died October the 10th. Memorial service will be held 2 o'clock today at Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega, with Stan Jett and Randy Howell officiating. The family will receive friends 1 hour prior to the service at the funeral home. And Mrs. Burke passed away October the 10th. Online condolences at urseryfuneralhome.com. Ursery Funeral Home, Talladega, directing. Kevin Cook, age 41, of Talladega, died October 3rd. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home, announcing. And Benny L. Garrett, age 88, died October 10th. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home, Crematory, Talladega, announcing. Larry Neal Fuller Sr., age 82, of Childersburg, died Saturday. At his request, no service will be held. Memorial service for Mrs. Margie Poe Maddox, age 84, will be Friday at 3 o'clock from Benefield Funeral Home in Ashland. A private burial will take place at a later date. Benefield Funeral Home, directing. And Elijah Kendrick, age 60, died October the 14th at Coosa Valley Medical Center. Funeral arrangement to be announced by Community Funeral Home in Sylacauga. This obituary report this morning, courtesy of Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg for pre-need funerals, burials, or cremation since 1975. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. In other obituary news this morning, we mentioned Mr. James F. Mazzell Jr. That funeral service will be held at Curtis & Son Funeral Home on Friday, with visitation from noon until 1 p.m. at the North Chapel. Funeral service at 1, a graveside service in the Evergreen Cemetery. Mr. Mazzell died at the age of 59. He lived in Sycamore, Alabama. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, in charge of the arrangements.